All right, Rebecca, what do you think? Should we get this show on the road here?
Let's do it, Jonathan.
Let's do it. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jonathan Toman. I'm the Peak Radar Manager for the Cultural Office of the Pikes Peak region. You'll also see on that right-hand column of folks that we have here this morning, Rebecca Heyer, the Cultural Office Assistant, and we're glad to welcome you this morning to Peak Radar for Pros, this snowy, cold morning. Of course, we're ready to have events like this back in person when we can, but this morning I must say I was rather glad when I looked at the thermometer and realized that I didn't have to get up and about to do this presentation. So, but nonetheless, glad to have you here this morning. Rebecca and I constitute, if we were to call Peak Radar an old school ship, I would say that her and I are the engine room, the captain, the navigator, the telegraph operator at various stages of Peak Radar on the ship. So her and I really make the engine go and have some great insight we're hoping to lend to you this morning. Also hiding amongst you are the two other members of the Cultural Office staff. Andy Vick, our Executive Director, and Angela Seals, our Deputy Director, are in and watching. So Rebecca and I are sure to be on our best behavior this morning as we go through Peak Radar for Pros. Our goals this morning are whether you are a new person to Peak Radar and have never listed an event, or are an old hand who has listed 400 events to Peak Radar. We're hoping to have some in-depth information for you and some new things to make it easier and helpful, and really allow you to leverage the tools in the best way that you can for yourself, your organization, business, cultural organization in the Pikes Peak region. So with that said, I think we'll go ahead and dive right in. We'll start with an overview of Peak Radar for those who do not know. Peak Radar is a program of the Cultural Office of the Pikes Peak region. When the Cultural Office was founded in 2006, the mission that was established was connecting residents and visitors with arts and culture to enrich the Pikes Peak region. One of the first ways that the Cultural Office sought to do that was through an events calendar, because most of the arts groups locally, the first thing they said they needed was help with marketing their events. And so we did that through Peak Radar, becoming part of a national program called Artsopolis, which has sites like this across the country. Started as an online calendar, but really it has morphed over the past 15 years now into a massive marketing platform, one of the largest of its kind in the United States. Artsopolis has over 40 different sites that are part of the program. Peak Radar is one of the top 3 largest consistently throughout the year. So it's really become a great way for local cultural groups to market what they're doing. We serve 2 counties, just like the Cultural Office as a whole, El Paso and Teller County. So a lot of ground for the 4 of us to cover, but it means we have a lot of different types of events that come in. Serving almost 400 local arts and cultural groups. In a normal year, we have around 3,500 to 4,000 events that are listed to Peak Radar as part of the program, and over 1.5 million page views of Peak Radar content. Oh, also, it's free. Very intentionally, right? So that we can allow folks to leverage the platform, no matter the size of the group or the type of events that you're putting on. I say all that just to give you a sense of the scope, right, of this sort of juggernaut that we have at our disposal that we'll get into some of the details as we go along with. I wanted to mention a few things about the platform itself and the different powers that it has, things that you may have interacted with or may not know about immediately. The website, of course, is home base. It's where all the events are listed, but it's also where we have things like our organization directory, public art directory, artist directory, and venue directory with different information about all of those. The e-blast that we send out every Wednesday highlights 8 to 10 events that are happening in the Pikes Peak region and goes to over 17,000 folks. That is both local and tourist as part of that e-blast. We have seasonal cultural guides like the holiday guide, gallery guide, or date night guide, as you can see right there on the image above, which is running right now. So if you're looking for something to do on Sunday or in the days between now and then, check it out on peakradar.com. There are 5 social media platforms that we run and cover. So at Peak Radar is the place to follow and keep track of what we're doing on those fronts. We run the Peak Radar lodging picks as well, where we're connecting with local hotels as folks who are here touristing or hanging out. If they're looking for something to do, we connect them with Peak Radar and what we're doing there. We have Peak Radar live video series that Angela runs, where we're interviewing different folks throughout the Pikes Peak region and what they're up to. We have lots of media appearances, including on radio, which that's me in the upper right-hand corner, pre-pandemic on KRDO, talking with them about events. I would be actually there this morning, right about now, to talk events, but instead I'm here with you chatting. So we'll do that next Friday. 6 different event feeds, and also Peak Radar blog written content that we put together as part of our staff writings or other folks to sort of really showcase the arts in that way. That's a lot. And I say that just at the beginning. We'll dive into some of it in more detail. But again, the scope of Peak Radar beyond an events calendar, right? That's the first thing we want people to think of, is to list their events. But once the events are there, we take it and run. And we do a lot of different things with the content that comes in. Point being, you're missing out if you're not leveraging Peak Radar, but you guys are not missing out because you're here this morning finding out what all there is to do. I also want to mention some of the adjustments we've made during the pandemic. Obviously, we had a lot fewer event listings come through this year. It was down about 50%, in fact, from 2019 to 2020. So we had to really shift what we were doing. Part of that was peakradar.com/virtual, where we were highlighting online content that arts groups were coming up with and promoting. That was one of the main ways that we did that. And then also leveraging the different types of content that we do have now, written articles, Peak Radar live videos that Angela hosts, those sorts of things, to really keep the cultural scene top of mind, if you will, throughout this and supporting in every way that we can. So I wanted to go over that briefly just at the start and show you guys a few pictures of the scope of the program. That said, I want to transition now. Rebecca, if you want to move the slide, I think we're ready to talk about Rebecca, and I want to just do a brief introduction. She's going to do a deep dive in how to make listings, which if you have done it before, you'll find some of it familiar, but there may be some tips to save time and also make your listings stand out, and also to make your life easier as you're submitting events to Peak Radar, because as I said, that's the starting point, and that's what we need to leverage all those other tools, is to hear from you guys about listing the events, because we're good, but we're not that good. We can't know every single event that's happening across 2 counties, so we need your help telling us what there is. So Rebecca, take it away.
Thanks, Jonathan. Good morning, everybody. I'm really excited to be here with you all. Like Jonathan said, I'm going to be taking a pretty deep dive into what it's going to look like for all of you to list an event from your end. So first of all, I'm going to start with peakradar.com. Once you get to our website, this is what it's going to look like. For those that haven't submitted an event before, the first thing that you're going to do is register to have a peakradar.com account. And you'll do that by going to the website and then up in the top right-hand corner, hovering over the submit event and then register. And this is what that page looks like. You'll go down here and create your account, fill out the forms. And then once you sign up, you'll be automatically taken to your dashboard because I already have an account. Obviously, I'll be logging in once we get there and showing you what it looks like from that side. So give me 1 second. This is what our login page looks like. Once you log in, you'll be taken to your account dashboard. This is really your home base for submitting your events, organization listing, artist directory, venue listing, etc. Everything you need will be on your account dashboard. Once we get there, my internet may be a bit slow this morning. There we go. So the important thing to remember once you're on here is we have a few things on this page. This blue box on the left-hand side is really the home base for all the things you're going to be submitting. Over here, we have some notes on the pandemic and what we've done to adjust since then. This big button right here in the middle, the create new event, is what you're going to want to hit to create a new listing. But before we get there, I just want to point out our requirements and our parameters below. This is really everything you need to know about submitting an event to Peak Radar. We always tell people, we take everything on a case-by-case basis. So if you're not sure whether you should submit an event, because it may be iffy whether it's an arts and culture event, I would direct you to these parameters, or you can always email support@peakradar.com to ask us questions about your event and any issues you think you may have. The real thing I want to hit before we go into the event submitting is first I will show you how to change your password. If you ever are unsure or want to change your password, you'll go to this blue box on the left-hand side and then account info. And then once you get there, just down here is where you'll change your password. And so it's super easy. And if you have any issues with that, once again, you can always email support@peakradar.com and we can help you with that as well. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard, and what I want to show you is the base page when you're submitting a brand new event. Give me 1 second. There we go. So like I said, you'll just hit this create new event button and you'll be prompted to a form. Oop. Gotta love technology. Give me 1 second. Over the years, I'll just say we've made adjustments to the form. It used to be a lot more pages, and now I know Jonathan has worked really hard to just get the form to one page where it has everything you'll need to submit an event. And I'll just preface this by saying, when you're submitting an event, the more information, the better. When people are coming to Peak Radar, they want to know as much about your events as possible. So that's the thing to think about when you're submitting your events, is just really as much information regarding the description of what's going on, the times, the venue information, as much as possible is really the best. Obviously, we're not trying to have, a book, but a good description, good length is really important to getting people interested and really understanding what your event is. Sorry for the technology issues, gotta love internet. Let's maybe try it this way. Oh, there we go, finally. So the first thing I'll hit is the title of the event. We really want this to be as descriptive as possible, but it's basically whatever your event is called. There are some, edits that we'll make. Sometimes there's capitalization in weird places, and we do make edits to all our event listings, but only to make the event listing look better. And right here is the event summary. This is just a short, usually 1-sentence description of what's going on. And, this is something that we share, like when an event is on Google, it'll be in the SEO listing to show like what your event really is. And then right here is the description, just whatever's happening in your event. Just you're going to put that here, whether it's people who are being presented, the class description, whatever it may be, this is where you're going to want to put that. And what's really interesting at this part right here is we have this little button that makes it really clear, and I'll show you on the screen. When you click that the in-person versus virtual, if it's virtual, it'll show this tab right here at the top of your event listing, which really makes it clear to our users what events are virtual and which ones are not. Right here is our organization listing. If your organization has listed before, there's a really good chance that your organization will be here. So let's say Cultural Office of the Pikes Peak region. That's what you'll click. And I actually just realized I wanted to go to a draft event that I already created so you guys can see what that looks like. So let me pull that up real quick. And if you do have an organization that hasn't been listed before, you'll just hit that add new organization button, and that's where you'll go. And I just want to point out this draft events. This is how you'll get to your draft events if you are going to an event listing that you've started before and you want to edit again and then submit. And I'll show you that button that you'll hit to save as draft to get to that point. One thing to note is when you are editing a draft, you want to make sure to hit this edit button and not the title, because the title will go to a preview rather than an edited format. Right, like I said, this is where our title is going to be, like our summary. One sentence really hits the key points of what our event's going to be. Our event description, this is Peak Radar for Pros, just to make it really obvious what we're trying to do. So it'll look really similar to the Eventbrite that you registered at. We have our virtual link right here, our organization that's presenting the event, which is us. And if your organization hasn't been submitted before, you're just gonna hit this add new organization and you'll type it and then that'll be added. Oops, there we go. And then if you have co-presenters, a lot of our organizations love to get together and put on events together, which is really awesome. We love collaboration, and you can just add a co-presenter. So like, for example, I just saw, Pikes Peak Community College and Rocky Mountain Women's Film put an event together. And so we have those two as co-presenters. The venue location info is important to have. If people don't know where your event is, they're not going to show up. So we want to make sure we really hit where your event's going to be. We have a lot of venues already in our venue directory, but once again, if it's not included, you'll just hit this add new venue button and that'll add it as a temporary venue. If you do have a virtual event, you definitely want to make sure that the venue is listed as online/virtual space, and that's, you just type that in that bar and the online/virtual space will come up as an option. And down here is our category types. This is really important because we have 10 categories that we sort our events through on peakradar.com. It's 10 major ones. So these are all our categories. And so you'll start off with the primary category, and that's what you'll click first. If there's any other categories that apply, you'll add those as secondary categories. And you just want to add as many as possible that fit into your event. So right, obviously we have a class and workshop. You're learning how to use peakradar.com. It's free, it's online and streaming. So we have all those clicked. And then this is an option that some people use, some people don't, is our tags. This is usually a lot of people consider like those hashtags. You can like hashtag fun, whatever, hashtag classes, hashtag workshops. You don't have to use these, but they're there if you would like. And next we have our date and time section. This is a really important part, and I know from experience working with a lot of our groups that this is where a lot of people have issues. So I'm going to go through this step by step. The first thing you want to do is do the time frame. So you'll do is start day, you'll click this little calendar and then click the day that it is. And so obviously today's the 12th. Let's say it was tomorrow, I'd hit the 13th. And then you can edit the end day if it's happening on more than one day. So let's say it's going all the way till the 28th, you would just hit that. And then the next really important thing that I think some people miss is this days of the week section. You definitely want to click whatever days that the event is happening on. So it's not just the time frame, it's the days of the week. So let's say happening on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, a weekend event. You would do all that and then you'd hit edit dates. And it would reset the times, because I already had those on there. You hit okay. And then you go down here and there we go. And once it loads, it'll populate with the days that you included, so all the weekend days. And then if the event is happening all at the same time, so like 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. on all those days, you would just enter the time here, and then you'd hit apply time to all dates, and then it would go to all of those dates that you selected. You can do it day by day. You don't have to do all the dates all the same time. So let's say you want to make this one 1 to 6 because you have a special after event party. You would just hit the time and edit it, and then you hit edit. And it'll add that time to that specific day. And you can do that to all of them. So let's say all the events are all on different days and times. You can edit each one individually. So that's that part. And let's say if you have a post-event reception that you really want to highlight, you would put that down here. So special post-reception following first day at, let's say 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. So that's where you put that, and that'll indicate underneath the time section that there's a special event happening on that day during that time. And this is the ticket information. Obviously, some events are free. And so this is where the section where you'd put that admission information. So if it's free, you'll just put that. If it's $5 per person, you would just hit that. And then this is really important. So you always want to make sure when you submit events that if anyone has any questions, you want your organization to be reachable, because you don't want people to not show up to your event because they're confused or don't understand about some aspect of the event listing. So having an email address or phone number right underneath the ticket information is really important. And this little middle section is the ticket website link. So this is where you'd include a direct link to your ticketing information. So if that's an Eventbrite where people pay or just register, if it's a different link than our official website up here, that's okay, because this can be like the main homepage of your organization's website for the official event website. And then this can be the direct link to the ticket option. And so those can be separate. And we do often encourage those to be separate, because someone might be interested in an organization, and that official website link can really take them to the general homepage of who you are. So that's ticket website is where you put the ticket link. And that's really important to have, obviously, if you're selling tickets. This next section is the accessibility information, which is awesome. A lot of our organization and venues obviously have accessibility details that they want to include to encourage as many people as possible to come to their events. So we have some already listed that a lot of places already have. If there's any additional information, such as please call, if you have any accessibility needs that need to be met, and if you call, we will help you. So this box right here is where you put that information on top of checking whatever boxes apply. Underneath that is our images. Each event listing on peakradar.com must have an image to go with it. I know a lot of people have some issues with this, so this is another instance where if you have any questions regarding the image, a lot of people sometimes just can't get it uploaded for whatever reason, and they'll email us their picture to support@peakradar.com, and we'll get it added, because that's the key. Even though we want to encourage you to do all this on your own, we're here to help. We're here to support you to make sure that your events get listed so that we can promote our arts and culture activities as much as possible. So for the image, it's important to note that all images must be at least 400 by 400 pixels, no larger than 1.5, and must be in these formats right here. Obviously, I already have one in there. And it's important to hit this copyright acknowledgement. When you submit photos to peakradar.com, it's important they be your photos. We don't want to go around promoting photos that are not ours, because obviously copyright in the arts and culture community is important. You want to make sure that artists get the credit that they deserve. So once you add your photo, which you will do here, you can crop it if you like. You can remove it. Like, let's, for example, I'll remove it just so you can see the upload button, possibly. So you just hit this upload image, and then I'll add it back in real quick. Oh, of course, it doesn't meet my requirements. I have to edit it. But anyway, that's where you would put that. I'll just add another one for the moment. Let's do First Friday. Once that gets uploaded, you hit the copyright acknowledgement saying that yes, you understand, acknowledge that you have the rights to this image, and that we can use it to display it on our website and like for social media, for example. A lot of the images that you submit when we promote these events on social media, we'll use those to help promote it. So I used our First Friday image this time because it was the first one I could grab, but for example, that's what that would look like. Down here, a lot of our event listings accept have videos to help promote. So here you would just add a YouTube, Vimeo, or Brightcove URL, which would show up in the event listing as the video itself. They can play the video directly from the event listing, and you can have a description, and you can add more than one, which is awesome. Down here, if you have any artists that you know are directly involved with your event, you can select those. Obviously, we have a lot of artists in our artist directory, so you can even search by those. If there's an artist that's not included, you can always add that back in that blue box on your in your dashboard at the beginning. You can submit those artists if we don't have those. And down here is another important part, the contact information. If there's something with your event that we don't quite understand, Jonathan and I, we want to make sure that we can contact you to make sure we get the correct information and make sure that your event listing looks as good as possible. So obviously I have my information right now. And this part down here is really important. We have two buttons that are options. We have the Save Draft button. Remember how I showed you how to get to your draft in that blue box, events, and then it'll be in that tab in the middle. This is what you would hit to save your event as in a draft. If you are good to go, if you filled out everything and you're ready to submit it, what you'll do is hit Proceed to Preview. And that'll take you to a new page it'll show you what your event listing is going to look like once it gets approved in the format that it typically is on peakradar.com. So once that loads, I'll show you what that looks like. The important thing to remember about your event listings, like I said, is just to have it really clear, really simple, with as much information as possible that you have, because we love promoting your events. We love having, the amazing arts and culture of the Pikes Peak region. So we definitely want to see as much as possible. So this is what your preview is going to look like. It'll show the title, the date range, the categories, the organization, the summary, and then the description. And it has all this information down here that you already inputted. If you see anything wrong or different, or you just need to adjust it, you just hit this Return to Edit button. If everything looks great, you'll just hit this Submit Listing button, which is super exciting and fun, because then it'll go over to us. And on the back end of Peak Radar, we'll see it in our pending events, and we'll look it over and make any adjustments, edits that we see are necessary. And then once it gets submitted or edited, we will approve it, and you'll get an email saying that your event has been approved, and it'll send you the link to that listing. I will say event listing can take up to 2 to 3 business days to be approved, especially during our high times when we're getting a ton of event listings. It may take a little longer just to get through everything and make sure everything looks good and is good to go. But sometimes during our low times, it may take 5 minutes. If I'm in there and I see it and I approve it real quick, it just depends. So if it's been maybe a day or two, don't freak out. We'll get your event approved as quickly as possible, but I just wanted to make sure that you are aware of that. One thing I wanted to hit while we were in here is we do have a bulk upload tool. Obviously, this is for organizations that have a ton of events all year long and want to submit those as much as possible. So this is not for everybody. We do have to give you permission to use it. So if you are interested in having, I don't have it at the moment. I haven't given myself permission. So if you are interested in having the bulk upload tool, just email support@peakradar.com and we can give your user account access to that. Like I said, in this blue box is where you'll submit your organization listings, your venue listings. You'd hit add new or manage. Same for organization, add new, manage, and then artist. So this, like I said, this blue box is really where you're gonna manage everything that you have to submit your event listings. But yeah, like Jonathan said at the beginning, if you have any questions about this process, we'll be taking questions at the end. So make sure to keep those in mind and enter those in the chat box once we get there. But I think that is all I have. So I'm gonna go back to the presentation and on to our next part where Jonathan's going to talk about additional tools you can use to leverage your event listings.
Indeed, I am. Thank you, Rebecca, for that
Yeah.
really lovely and detailed breakdown of the Peak Radar event form. To some of you who have not listed an event before, it may seem like a lot, but it goes quick as you're going through. And I would say it's like riding a bike. Once you've done one event listing, it gets easier as time goes on. And the other thing too, we want to make sure that the events that are part of Peak Radar are really quality events, right? That have all the necessary details and the information that folks might need to really showcase the arts community and what we have going on in the region. So thanks again, Rebecca. I want to go through a few things that I've already mentioned, but these are in addition to listing the events, right? That's the core. We want you to do that always. But there are some other tools that we have as part of the Peak Radar platform that I want to make sure you all know about, which you can leverage in addition to making event listings. We'll start with the Peak Radar Picks eBlast, which you'll see one of our recent ones on the right, celebrating the Pioneers Museum COS at 150 exhibit, which just opened as part of the sesquicentennial celebrations for the city. That eBlast went out a few weeks ago, but you'll see a picture of Leah Davis Witherow, their curator of history there on the right-hand side. And that curator section is one thing that we do throughout the year as part of the weekly eBlast to highlight particular events that are coming through as part of Peak Radar and are upcoming. So you can reserve curator slots, again, by emailing support@peakradar.com to correspond with an event that you're hosting, whether it's the launch of COS 150 or the Chinese New Year Festival that has been going on this weekend, to reserve that slot at the top of the eBlast, where we'll have the information that you submitted as part of your event listing. We'll have that on the left-hand side with the image and dates, and then also a headshot and bio. And the power of that is that it's the top section, if you will. So the first thing when those 17,000 people open the eBlast, the first thing they see is your event in your curator slot. So you can reserve those. We don't allow any more than 3 per year per organization. But if you know that you have something coming down the pike, that's one way to leverage a free tool there. On the paid front, we do have website and eBlast advertising. The right-hand column of peakradar.com will have ads of different things. You'll see if you go there right now, several different ads running at the moment. And also in the eBlast, there are ad spaces as well. Those are paid or trade, depending on the type of events that we have going on and the type of connection that is there. But that is something that you can leverage as well. Details for that are on peakradar.com/advertise, which is the URL at the bottom of this screen. I mentioned the 5 social media platforms. That we love when people just ask us for social media promotion, right? If you have an event that's tomorrow and you want to make one last push, send us an email and we'll put it on our Twitter, we'll put it on our Instagram. That is free, and we're always willing to do that to give some extra oomph in the upcoming days for your events. That's part of the Peak Radar platforms on social media in that regard. We also run ticket giveaways, mostly through the Peak Radar Picks, the eBlast, but also occasionally on our social media platforms. So if you want, you have a pair or 2 pair that you want to give away to generate some interest and or to just have another moment to talk about your event, we do that as well. Obviously, there have been fewer through the past few months, but that is something that we do offer, and that's a free tool as well. Peak Radar live and written content. If you have a story idea, essentially, we're always taking story submissions, right? No guarantees about including in the Peak Radar live and written content, but we're always happy to hear cool things that you guys are up to and that arts organizations are putting forward. And we'll take a look at it and see if it's if it's something that at that moment we have the bandwidth to put together as part of Peak Radar Live or the Peak Radar blog content that I've mentioned. One other element that we do have is guide sponsorships. So I mentioned the date night guide, the holiday guide, gallery guide, outdoor summer concert guide. Those are all ways that we break down content on Peak Radar to make it more digestible and put it into a fun sort of package for folks to view. Organizations can sponsor those different guides. So if you want to have the outdoor summer concert guide, but you want to make sure that there are films too, and the Rocky Mountain Women's Film Festival, just the top example that came into my mind, to sponsor that, we can make that happen. And then I want to mention a few other ways to stay connected. Obviously, subscribing to the eBlast is one great easy way. And again, just email support@peakradar.com if you would like to do that. We have 2 eBlasts that we can connect you to. Obviously, the Peak Radar Picks, which we've mentioned, but there's also a Cultural Office Arts News eBlast that goes out a little less frequently, but has some more broader details beyond events about the Cultural Office as a whole and what we're up to, and the cultural community and other things that we've heard about. And then if Rebecca can go to the Chinese New Year Festival listing that we have up, I want to mention a few share icons. You'll see sort of just above the virtual event, different ways that you can share these events as you see them or coming on social media. You can add them to your calendar, those sorts of things. And then in the bottom part of the screen now toward the photo is a bookmark tool. If you have a Peak Radar account, you can bookmark different events that you're interested in, and they can show up as part of your dashboard on the back end of peakradar.com, where you can keep them all handy to see upcoming events. You can do it that way, or you can add to your Google Calendar, Outlook calendar as part of that row of icons at the top. That's all I have for this portion. peakradar.com/advertise has those details, and I'll turn it back over to Rebecca, who's going to tackle our question section and also do our fancy schmancy giveaway.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Welcome again. Right now, we're going to do our questions. If you have any questions, now is a great time to put them in the chat box. And then if you want to enter our giveaway towards the end of our questions, you'll enter your name, organization name, and an email address into the chat box. And after our Peak Radar for Pros is over, we'll email the winner, telling them that they've won 2 free ads and the Peak Radar Picked e-blast to be used during the 2021 calendar year. So I'm gonna open the chat. I did see one earlier from Rhonda. That was a really good question. Can we make changes after the event is approved for posting? Absolutely, you can. To do that, you'll go back to your dashboard and hit events and then events again. And then once we get there, remember that tab in the middle will have the published events, draft event, and then a few other options. You'll want to go over to the published events, and those will have the ones that are live currently. Here we go, current upcoming events. So let's say you wanted to edit 45-degree virtual artist interviews. You would find the one that's published and then hit this edit button. And under that listing, once you get back to the screen where you can make edits, you'll just make the changes, and then at the bottom, you'll hit save. And that's how you make those changes. Let me look through the chat box. Can vendor recruitment information be provided to vendor recruitment? Yeah, we get a lot of that. And so, like, for example, like a lot of craft shows will put their event listings, and they'll say in the description, they'll say, if you're interested in becoming a vendor, please email such and such. Obviously, it's not the highlight of the event listing, but you can definitely include it, and we'll sometimes bold it or underline it depending on how much you want to emphasize it. So let me see if we have any other questions. Thank you.
The
Go ahead,
same
Jonathan.
applies, Rebecca, for volunteers, right? If you're
Yes.
also, as part of your event, for instance, Meadowgrass Music Festival is also searching for volunteers to help staff the event. You can include that information as part of the listing as well.
Yes.
Joyce had asked if we're going to have instructions like this streaming. Yes, because we're recording this and we'll have it live on youtube.com/peakradar on our YouTube page. And you can certainly email us to get a direct link to it as well.
Perfect. And then Wanda asked Rhonda, I'm sorry. No, Wanda. A lot of rhyming. Asked, how far in advance do you recommend creating your post? That is a really good question, and I'm really glad that you asked. It depends, obviously. Usually we tell people as soon as you can. The further in advance that you submit your event listing, the more time we have to prepare to help promote it, the more time it exists on the site for people to find it and be aware of it. So as soon as you are able to get that event submitted, that's the best time. Let me go back to this real quick. But obviously, that's not always the case. So you want to do usually about 2 weeks. That gives us time for it to exist on the website and for us to plan to promote it if we're able in our social media and our e-blast. I think the best time is probably about a month would be my best recommendation. Is a month is really, really great. Let me see if we have any other questions. Is it best to have one person for your organization submit events, or is it okay to have multiple people post your events? It's definitely okay to have multiple people post your events. Organizations are not bound to one user account. Any person ever can create a Peak Radar account because it's free, it's easy. And so we definitely recommend that if you are able to create a Peak Radar account for your organization, do so. And you can definitely have more than one person. The only thing to keep in mind is that only one account can have access to your organization's profile on the organization directory. So if you'd like to edit an organization listing, you'll definitely want to keep mind in who is that person whose account is attached to that organization listing. And at any point that you're unsure or want to change that person, you can always reach out to Jonathan or I at the support email, and we can edit that and make a different user the person in charge of editing the organization listing. But anyone can submit any events for any organization, because remember in that drop down when you're submitting an event, you'll click the organization. It's not connected to your organization when you submit the events. You just choose the organization that's presenting it. I hope that makes sense. If not, then you can ask a more direct question. All right. Any other questions? I'll keep an eye and see if we get any more coming through, but I just want to say thank you for coming and sitting down with us this early in the morning. We love talking about Peak Radar. We love supporting your events, and we love being here with our arts and culture community. Tell your friends about Peak Radar. The more people that know about it, the more people that know about your events. So if you have any questions, like Jonathan and I have said probably a ton of times, support@peakradar.com really is your go-to. Anytime you have questions about, the cultural office in general, Peak Radar, just let us know. We're happy to talk to you. Once we're back in the office, we'll have the support phone, and we love to talk to you in person too. And then, like Jonathan said, we're also on social media. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube will be there as well. And yes, like Jonathan said, this the presentation's being recorded, so the training will be posted on our YouTube. And if you want someone to have direct access to that, Stephanie, you can email us and we'll send you the direct link once we have it. Alrighty, I think that's all we have. If you'd like to stick around, ask any questions, please feel free. Otherwise, we hope you have a great rest of your day.